Thank you.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Chadron City Council to order as of 6 p.m. and invite everybody present to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As required by Section 84-1412, subsection 8 of the Nebraska statutes, notice is hereby given that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted for your examination on the wall inside the door to these City Council chambers. May we have roll call, please?
Miles Bannon.
Present.
Keith Kropa.
Here.
Mark Werner.
Aye.
Cheryl Welch.
Here.
George Klein.
Here. Move to approve the agenda as written. Second.
And may we have roll call on the agenda, please?
Hold it. I would like to make a motion that we make item India an information brief. The supporting memorandum was not in the package this week, so we don't have any background on this.
What do we need to do to change the, what language do we need to change there, Adam?
Excuse me, which
It's okay.
item?
It's one on the Employee Association.
Agenda item I. He wants to make that a non-action item.
We can get to it, just take no action on it tonight. I mean, it can stay on the agenda and you just take no action on it tonight. Make a motion to take no action on it tonight, if you want to do that.
Can't do it now?
It'd be cleaner if you did it
Later.
in the course of the agenda.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I have something regarding the problem resolution team and some of the
consent agenda.
information. That's consent agenda. Okay, I'll wait.
May we have roll call on the agenda, please?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Kropa.
Yes, ma'am.
Werner.
Aye.
Welch.
Yes.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Consent agenda this evening includes minutes for our most recent city council meeting. We have a letter sent to the council by Rita Horst, director of the High Plains Community Development Corporation. This letter was signed by the city manager, written in support of High Plains Community Development's application for funding through the Nebraska Department of Economic Affordable Housing Trust Fund for Safe and Affordable Housing.
Miles, can you expand on what exactly that means to the community if she gets it?
So this means, if you're not familiar with High Plains Community Development, this is the reason we wanted to include this in the consent agenda. They do a lot of good work for supporting safe, affordable housing in our community. There are a lot of folks in this town, they do first-time homebuyer education. They do a lot of work helping people who might not otherwise be able to own a home into homes. And also rehab pre-existing homes, do a lot of good work. And speaking for myself, I could not have owned a home were it not for High Plains Community Development.
And the specific program is to do what?
The specific program is for,
The possibility of building a couple of houses.
is that right? Yeah. So building new houses within city limits in Chadron, not just turning something around. There's the possibility for additional new housing, which ties into our housing study, which shows a great need for that.
And if somebody wanted to write a letter in support, is that still possible?
I don't know. Is Rita here?
No,
I don't think anybody.
I think the deadline for her application has since passed for those letters of support.
I know there were several people on the NNDC board that did write letters, and appreciate the city manager writing this letter. Low-income housing for Chadron is a real need, and it would be great if we could get Rita to show that we can build these things affordably and people can purchase them.
I know they've gotten some attention from the Department of Housing and Urban Development recently, and again, very happy about that, and that's why I want to bring that up in correspondence tonight, bring everybody's attention in our members of the media present their attention as well to what's going on at High Plains Community Development and that application for funding. Further in our consent agenda tonight, we have minutes for the problem resolution team held March 27th, and we had 2 approvals of special designated licenses, 2 liquor licenses approved, both for Wilds Bar and Grill. There's a Nebraska flood relief fundraiser coming up later this month, and a wedding reception in June. Cheryl?
Well, I noticed on the notes from the problem resolution team, I believe in the call to order section, it says that Jennifer Spintel is absent. And I just wanted to confirm that because there were 1, 2, 3, 4 places where Fintel voted for a measure, and if she wasn't present, I think that should be changed.
We will check on that,
Would you
get
please?
those corrected.
Thank you, and I have it marked on my notes if you'd like to see it
Okay.
after the meeting.
We will follow up on that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, may we have roll call on the consent agenda?
Klein,
Yes.
Bannon,
Yes.
Crowfoot,
Yes, ma'am.
Werner,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Next item of business tonight, we have a proclamation for Mental Health Awareness Month. I'd like to invite Joanne Yakima Cooper forward, as well as Terry Haynes. All right.
Oh, I sit down.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a seat.
Thank you. Oh, all right.
since you understand your reading.
I am. Oh, I thought Miles was reading.
I can read the whole thing,
All right,
and we
you're
can
a
read it
good
together.
reader. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, let's go for it. You're a good reader.
Before we get into the proclamation, though, I'd like to have you guys introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about what Mental Health Awareness Month in May means in Chadron.
All right. I can address that. Mental health, or May is designated as Mental Health Awareness Month for the entire month. And so we'd like in the community, we have a few events that are occurring, and we'd like you to all partake as much as you can. The Chadron Record helped us out and gave us a big old ad, and there's a green ribbon on a page there that you can post in your window if you'd like to show your awareness in that way. We'll have green ribbons out in the community as well as the school system to show mental health awareness. And May 9th in particular is Children's Mental Health Awareness Day for us, and we encourage the entire community to wear green that day. And in addition, we will be having a walk for awareness. We'll start at the courthouse, walk our way up to Sea Hill, and place some solar green lights around the sea for the rest of the month. So we encourage you to have a look at that when that comes. All right.
Excellent. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is strong research that animal companionship, humor, spirituality, religion, recreation, social connections, and work-life balance can all help all Americans protect their well-being, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health and other chronic health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives, and whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen share the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Now, therefore, I, Miles Bannon, Mayor of the City of Chadron, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the City of Chadron.
Thank you, Miles, and I forgot to allow our guest to introduce.
I'm Joanne Yankel. I'm with Crossroads Resources here in Chadron. I provide mental health, substance abuse, and problem gambling services, and I also facilitate the crisis response team if there is any suicidal ideations going on in Dawes and Sheridan County. And my helper down there.
I'm Laura Copper. I work with Emergency Community Support. with people who have suffered a mental health crisis. I help them get connected with resources.
All right, and we have many health providers in our community, and that again is in our newspaper ad. And we are just excited that the grass is so very green, and we're claiming that as representing the green for Mental Health Awareness Month.
It's good for everybody's mental health.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You get two.
Oh, I'll take it. Thanks.
No, on this side of things. This is good. All right, next item tonight, we have a proclamation for Police Week. We do this every year to honor our police officers. And Chief, you want to explain a little bit about Police Week?
Certainly, Police Week is always the week that encompasses May 15th, which is Police Officer Memorial Day. So this is a time that we recognize law enforcement, and particularly recognize those law enforcement officers that have given their life in the line of duty. So this proclamation reads, 57 years ago in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed public law designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. The law was amended by the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act in 1994 and signed by President Bill Clinton, directing that the flag of the United States be displayed at half-staff on all government buildings on May 15th of each year. While the actual dates change from year to year, National Police Week is always the calendar week beginning on Sunday, which includes May 15th. This year, National Police Week is May 13th through May 19th. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 21,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. This year, the names of 158 officers killed in the line of duty have been added to the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. The 158 officers, or excuse me, it's 317 officers, include 158 officers who were killed in the line of duty during 2008. Over the last 10 years, one law enforcement officer has been killed every 55 hours. The safety of our communities and the individual freedoms we enjoy does come at a high price. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and the members of the Chadron Police Department recognize their duties to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression.
And now, therefore, I, Miles Bannon, Mayor of the City of Chadron, call upon all citizens to observe the week of May 12th through 18th of 2019 as Police Week. I also encourage all citizens to join us in honoring law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities. Do we have any events going on this year for Police Week, Chief?
Sheridan County has an event, and Scottsbluff County, which would be the law enforcement agencies down in Scottsbluff County, have events on the 15th.
All right.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief. All right. I am moving forward one more proclamation tonight. Some very important things. We've covered mental health, the police, also water. Very important to us, right?
It is very important. Thanks for including this proclamation on our Drinking Water Week. The governor signed a proclamation 2 weeks ago declaring May 5th through the 11th of our Drinking Water Week, and we're here to do a proclamation for the city.
All right.
Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economic and quality of life we enjoy, and whereas any measure of a successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth, and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some way related to the access to safe water, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend, and whereas each citizen in our city is called upon to help protect our source water from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues by getting to know their water.
Now, therefore, I, Miles Bannon, Mayor of the City of Chadron, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th to 11th as Drinking Water Week in the City of Chadron.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we have a very unique water system here in Chadron. We have a great water department. They do a lot of hard work, and we have a water system that needs a lot of hard work.
And just so everybody knows, we do kind of have a call on the water usage right now where we have in our tank. And things, we can produce enough water to provide for whatever fire protection, anything we need, but we just wanted the public to be aware in case something in this process goes south on us, we can call for a water restriction, but everything's safe, we got plenty of water, and as long as we're getting water from the sky, we're even luckier.
That's the truth.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna give these to Donna. All right, moving forward to agenda item E tonight. We will now enter, as of 6:17, into a public hearing regarding a liquor license application for a retail class CK license for Diamond DP Incorporated doing business as the Bean Broker Coffee House and Pub. Welcome, David and Paige Patterson.
Thank you very much.
How's it going?
Good. It's been lots of high fastballs coming the last couple of weeks, so we're very excited about the opportunity to be in front of you guys tonight and the opportunity to be part of the Bean Broker and take over ownership. We're looking to kind of scale what our previous owner has built, and we want to kind of get on our soapbox and promote Chadron, Nebraska, Northwest Nebraska, the Pine Ridge, and truly create an experience. And I think that building we have down there can do that. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I spent the last 14 years at Cabela's, a couple years on the East Coast at a nonprofit, and grew up in Alliance, Nebraska. My wife grew up on a ranch south of Gordon, and we kind of found our way home. It's funny how growing up in Alliance, I went off to Kearney State College and probably should have came to Chadron State, but I found my way back here, and we just were very fortunate about the opportunity and walking through the building and just seeing the people and getting to know the people, and it's just been such a warm welcome. So we're excited to kind of scale what the previous owners have built, create that experience, open the doors to everybody, and we want to capture that travel, that tourism market, those outdoor enthusiasts, those hikers, those bikers, those hunters, those fishers. We want to bring them all into this downtown square and truly promote Chadron, Nebraska. So that's kind of why we jumped at the opportunity, and we're in front of you tonight. So.
Please keep serving strong coffee.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. There's nothing going to change. That's the beauty of that. We're going to change a few things. We're going to implement a few changes. We're going to start serving some pizzas. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to take part of that yet, but we're going to expand the menu a little bit and maybe the hours down the line once we get the wheels underneath us. But there's just such a great opportunity to promote this community, this part of the country, and we know so many people are coming through there. How do we grab them instead of them hitting that stop sign and going north? Let's get them into town. So that's kind of my goal. So if you guys have any suggestions or can offer any help, we're all ears. So
wonderful.
Anybody have any questions?
I appreciated reading your mission statement. It's not a question, but I like your ideas, and I'm glad you're here, so thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We're looking forward to truly, being a part of the community and offering a stop for those people. We had some folks in from Visit Nebraska the other day that do some tourism buses, and I think we grabbed a couple of those for Chadron, Nebraska. So I'm going to reach out, and I'm a sales and marketing guy, and that's what I do. So I'm going to reach out and build those relationships and those partnerships with the people that I have in my network, as well as my wife's family and my family, and just the connections we have in the community, just not in the community, but I want to reach out and talk to people regionally and say, hey, we're the bean broker, we're Chadron, we're Northwest Nebraska, come see us. So that's kind of what we have going. If you guys have any questions, or like I said, if there's any suggestions, we're all open for that. So if it's something on the menu or hours or whatever it may be, we want to, like I've said, we want to be Chadron's living room. The doors are always open and everybody's welcome.
I'm looking through your application, and I don't really need details. I'm just curious about some issues in the past that have been noted that could lead to possibly disruptive behavior or attitude towards, with employees and condoning similar behavior with them. How should we be looking moving forward to that type of behavior and/or condoning that behavior from employees?
From employees, that's...
Which page are you on?
5. I'm just reading 5 right here.
It's not 5.
Yeah, I think you're probably referring to my personal stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was, that was, going on 30-some years ago, or 20-some years ago. Obviously, that's not a problem. I've been out in the real world now for going on 20 years, and obviously held very high positions with nonprofit on the East Coast and Cabela's, and obviously, there's no concerns there. And if that's just me, or I guess I'm reading into it some as far as any other employees, I think we're going to have a finger on everything, and there's going to be, we're going to have strict guidelines, and we're going to have set standards, and we're going to create that experience, and we're going to take care of, when people come in the door, we're going to take care of them and create that experience. I want every one of my employees to be able to meet and greet and have that, build that rapport with customers. So that's kind of what I'm all about.
Anything else? Any comments from city staff?
Mayor, Council, good evening. Tim Lordino, Police Chief. I took a look at this application, and I don't have any issues with anything that's in it, and I would ask that you go ahead or make a recommendation that you approve this. What I would tell you is that I have a very close working relationship with many of the license holders in Chadron, and the bean broker is no exception to that. And you can see one of the ladies that are sitting back behind us that has been working down there for a long time, and I guess I didn't ask her if she's going to continue to work down there, but yeah, so she and I have worked together for a long time. I have no issues. I don't know the Feddersons. I know a little bit about their background and his work down in Sydney, and particularly with Cabela's. I look at the stuff that you're talking about on page 5, and that doesn't raise any concerns for me right now. I would expect that we're going to have the same working relationship and the same atmosphere down there, and I would think that if we have any issues, we'll sit down and visit about those and deal with them accordingly. As again, when you get a liquor license in Nebraska, it's a privilege. It's similar to your driver's license. You have to follow the rules and regulations, and I don't have any doubts that the Feddersons will do that as well. So.
And I'd like to add one thing. We kind of got a bonus when we walked into this deal. We had no idea that we had Alicia Felton. We had no clue. We literally had no clue how good she is, how experienced she is, how seasoned she is. And truly, she makes that place sing. She does. And that's all I can say. She knows it in and out, and she's coached us very well the last couple weeks on what to do, where to go, when to be there, and she makes the thing go round. So we're in good hands with her, truly.
Any further comment from the council or from the chamber? Okay. We have
Mayor, you know this is a on and off sale and a caterer's license. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that. It's
Yes.
on and off sale for everything and a caterer's license.
That's a great point. So this license will allow the Featherston's, the bean broker, to sell product for consumption on-site, also sell sealed product to take off-site, and with the catering license, they're able to apply for an unlimited number of special designated licenses, allowing them to do events like wedding receptions, like fundraisers, lots of different events. So this is the full extent of what you can get for a liquor license.
I don't recall, is that what the previous owner had
Yes.
as well?
Yep.
Same. Okay.
Did you close it officially?
Let's make double sure. We'll officially close this public hearing at 6:26.
Sorry, you started here and then I think you declared a time.
Fair enough.
Okay. Introducing resolution number 2019-35 and move for its adoption.
And I'll second that motion. This resolution will provide local approval for this liquor license. Any comments from the council?
Look forward to you being here. Appreciate the investment.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. We appreciate that.
Thank you for being in town.
Thanks
Thank you
for
for
the
being
time.
here tonight.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
May we have roll call on resolution 2019-35?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crumpet.
Yes, ma'am.
Warner.
Aye.
Welch.
Yes.
Moving forward tonight, we have another public hearing. Entered into public hearing as of 6:27 regarding a liquor license application for a retail Class C license for Helen's Restaurant and The Grove. Present tonight, Jennifer Wright.
Good evening. Just want to thank you for allowing me to come here tonight. It's very exciting to be back in town. I was born and raised here and have moved around a lot, worked at a lot of different restaurants and bars across the country, really. So it's exciting to be back in western Nebraska. I've been operating as temporary owner until we get the liquor license situation figured out since July. I'm taking over for my mother, and I've worked there before, so it's not anything that I'm not used to. However, it's great to be back in the community and actually being more involved as an adult. I left when I was in my mid-20s, so I didn't get to see much of this sort of action, so this is exciting. I'm running the restaurant for mostly the same as the previous owner was, with same standards, high standards in regards to, all the legal side of, obtaining a liquor license. I'm very used to training staff for responsible beverage service, things like that. We'd actually just had a meeting today about it, so nothing comes new there. I did actually apply for an off-sale license with the interest in possibly extending wine tastings, and if somebody wanted to buy the wine that they liked, obviously closed bottle, after that they would have the ability to do that, which was something that wasn't available before. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
That's a good point. We'll make that at the beginning, not at the end. This is on and off sale, so again, like you said, consume on site, and you can sell to take it home.
Correct. And yes, hours will stay the same. We open at 5:30 in the morning and then close, depending on the day, between 8 and 9:30.
And so you'll have access to 5 SDLs per year because you're not adding the catering endorsement, right?
Correct.
Okay. Question from the council?
Continuing cookout for a cause?
Yes, of course. The ball's already rolling with that, so hopefully we can we're changing the date this year to try to get a little more. I know that date before was kind of cumbersome for some people that were wanting to participate, so moving it a week ahead, I think, is what we decided on.
Jennifer?
Yes.
I just had a question for you. I'm a teacher. I have 2 daughters. And I know that we all make choices, and sometimes we make poor choices when we're growing up, and I try and I've learned from mine and encourage my kids to learn from theirs, as well as my students. I do hold a concern of some of the things that I've seen on record.
Okay.
And so I'm really pleased to have you come back and be a business owner in this town.
Thank you.
And it comes along with responsibilities, though. And so I guess I need a little bit of confirmation from you.
Okay.
That some of the things that, and choices that you've made, you're ready to turn away from that and address some of the responsibilities that lie ahead.
Absolutely. I do have a fairly lengthy driving record, I guess you could say. Some irresponsibilities of, yes, I would definitely like to take ownership for those. It's nothing crazy, speeding, no registration, things like that. And, moving forward, I have no excuse for any of them, really, and I like to instill the same, responsibilities and to my children as well. And I would like to say I haven't had any issues since January of 2018 or so. So I don't think that affects my ability to run a restaurant and a bar.
Right.
And with that regard, I've always been 100% responsible in maintaining, full. I mean, I don't feel like those are really going to affect anything that I will be doing into the community and with the restaurant. I hope that answers your question.
Further questions from the council? Chief?
Mayor, Council, good evening again. I looked at this and I don't see any issues, and I think the Councilmember Walsh brings up, I think, a good point. But what I would say to you, and even the license beforehand, each one of the licenses renew each year. And so you have an opportunity, they have an opportunity to make sure they do things correctly. They do things to the standards that we have here in Chadron. And so if at a point down the road you have any licensee that isn't, you feel is holding the standard, you can certainly hear that license and then not renew it. I don't know Jennifer, however, I have had a good working relationship with Mimi for a long time. Haven't had any issues down there. I don't suspect we're going to have any issues down there. I think she's going to do an excellent job running the restaurant. She still has quite a bit of her staff still there, so I would recommend approval.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for investing in our community and coming home.
Yes,
That's a big deal.
It's very exciting to do both. So I didn't want to. She wanted to retire, and I didn't want to see it go away. So it's kind of a city landmark, I think. So it's
Truly.
exciting to be back.
Any comment from the chamber before we close the hearing? All right. We will close this public hearing at 6:34.
Introducing resolution number 2019-36 and move for its adoption.
I will second that motion. Further comment from the council? Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it.
I know this was a lot of work, and appreciate you going through it all.
It is a lot of work.
A lot
more than I
of,
thought.
lot of hoops to jump through.
Thanks so much. Have a good day.
May we have roll call, please, on resolution 2019-36?
Fine.
Jennifer, I highly support your application, but the city attorney says I need to abstain since you're a client.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crowfoot.
Yes, ma'am.
Werner.
Aye.
Welch.
Yes.
All right.
Introducing resolution number 2019-37 and move for its adoption.
Mayor, as mentioned earlier, I think we'd benefit from information on this by voting on this tonight. So I make I guess the motion.
Why don't you second it first? Could you second?
I'll second the initial, and now I'll move that we change the purpose of this from approving the resolution to explaining the resolution.
Just a motion to take no action.
Or table it till next meeting when you could make a decision.
Okay, table.
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 We'll still discuss.
I'd really like to discuss, yeah.
So we can, as the motion is on the floor, we can still discuss. So, Mark has made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Discussion on this agreement. This is regarding a negotiated change to the employee personnel manual for the city of Chadron. On our negotiating team were the city manager, Councilmember Crowfoot, and Councilmember Klein. Either of you guys want to say anything about this before we launch into it?
I'm actually very comfortable with this.
Yes,
We had a lot of meetings moving forward. There were some tears, there was some crying. That was just me. I don't know about anyone else.
I can't question the amount of work y'all did. It's just that I don't know anything about it.
Right, no, understood.
I didn't want to be on that, because I didn't, but you guys have done great work. I don't want it to be anything, I just want to learn more about it and discuss it before we take action. This is the extent of what I know.
Yep, understand.
And I just don't feel comfortable voting yea or nay. I mean, I don't even understand that first, how this first one affects people. Cheryl asked me yesterday, and I don't understand, so it's just...
Do you want to discuss some of that, Keith, or do you want to...
Let's vote, and then so we don't...
Once we table it, we're done.
We're done?
Yeah, so discuss now.
Okay, so...
If we table it, it's fine, but we met with the City Employee Association, and I think we came up with a good compromise for both the employees and the city. So if you want to get some little background information and delay it, that's fine, but we have a lot of people here, and I think that's probably why they're here, to see that we go ahead and approve.
Well, I mean, they
what
also
we've
could
done, so.
give us some background from their perspective, so...
Well, I can, unfortunately, I'm not sure how the memo didn't get included in the council package, but I can give a little bit of background. Initially, this committee was established a little over a year ago to look at what was, at the time, just a concept of the three-legged stool, where we were looking at how the components of that fit in with the budget and the overall raises and how kind of things, started at that point, and then it progressed due to the fiscal issues that the city was facing. It progressed into a discussion of how can we provide some sort of benefit to our employees, with the understanding that in the fiscal year 18-19 that the wages were going to be frozen. So that's kind of how things kind of transpired and moved to the discussion as to the different items here in relation to the sick leave, as well as the personal days and the special leave. We had, as Keith was saying, we had multiple discussions as to different options, both the CCA as well as the committee, myself, and at the time it was Mayor John Coates, and George then was put onto that committee when John left. Has spent a tremendous amount of hours discussing all of the different scenarios as it relates to both the hard fiscal impacts with all of the different options presented, as well as the opportunity costs, and what we as a committee felt, as well as the CCA, felt that the options that we have presented here was something that I think provided not only a small benefit to the employees, but also something that, as the city, we were able to fiscally maintain over the course of multiple years, and not, be looking at it in terms of our blinders on that says, okay, how can we look at something that provides our employees with a benefit, not just this year, but over the course of a long-term, impact of this. So this is why we came up with something that we felt was agreeable between all of the parties here. So, we looked at, all of the different scenarios in terms of those fiscal impacts, and felt that this was the one that we, as a whole group, would, feel comfortable presenting to the overall council for, approval, so.
And so to outline kind of what this agreement came to was, like you said there's a payout for sick leave. There's a change to that based on your years of service when you resign.
What's the percentage mean on that? If you look at, it goes 10 years, 10%, 96 hours, what's the
So
percent?
that's 10% of your total accumulation up to.
So an employee, after,
So it stops at 96 hours?
no, you can accumulate up to 960 total hours of sick leave over the course of a 10-year period. So you accumulate 96 hours of sick leave in a one-year period, which is prorated out. So for an employee to be, eligible after 10 years, you get 10% of the balance that is remaining of your total accumulation up to 96 hours of that accrued time. And then it's the same with the 15 years at the 20.84, and the reason that it's an odd percentage in that 200 hours is after 15 years, it also is what is currently matching in the FOP contract between the city and that CBA. And then the 20 years, we felt, was an incentive to provide our long-term employees with, an opportunity to, continue to, have that and, provide something to, promote that longevity, to be able to provide this as a benefit for our long-term employees as well. So that's why we felt that it was, important to go ahead and, look at that 25% as well. And when we looked at the comparability on the sick leave component, it was, pretty much all over the board in terms of where we were at. So we felt very comfortable that when we looked at the long-term liabilities for this, that we felt that, when we look at the, long-term positions for those employees who are, here with the city for 15 and 20 years, and we look at them, what that salary savings would be if they were to leave after that next year, we would make up that difference on what that payout would be in that next fiscal year in terms of those salary savings on that. So that's why we felt very comfortable in terms of making the recommendation for the termination pay.
And so this is, again, like you say, it's termination pay. This isn't just you get paid out when you retire, when you quit.
When you retire, you quit,
you get paid out for all of your annual leave, and you get paid out for this percentage of your sick leave. And is that clear, Mark?
Yes.
Okay.
So essentially, for the 10-year person, that would be 8 days.
Yeah, right. So up to. So say
But
you.
if they only have, 40 hours, then they only get 10% of the 40 hours. So it's a total of their accumulation, so it's.
Yeah, I got 50% of what I had from Uncle Sugar when I retired, so I understand that. The notation here, I didn't get that.
Okay. The next part of this is one additional personal leave day is available to regular full-time employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. So this is just an extra day for full-time employees that they get to take personal leave. Is that correct and clear?
And this is also partially to come up to comparability on holidays.
Right, so at the time when we were looking at the information for comparability from the 17-18 information, when you looked at the total holidays as well as the, what we call personal days and our floating holidays, that information showed that we were 1 day behind. But when we actually look at the comparability for the 18-19 information, we're actually within comparability. But I still think it's important that we still look at providing this additional personal day for those folks that are not covered by collective bargaining agreements. And I think that, this is one of those as a, benefit to our employees, that I think it's important to allow them to have this as a floating holiday. We looked at, what would it be to make it a formal holiday, whether it be Martin Luther King or another recognized federal holiday. We decided that fiscally it was more prudent to make it a floating holiday.
Just take a day off.
And allowed also the employees some flexibility within their scheduling and that kind of stuff as well, so.
So they get 2 personal leave days, and this, for full-time employees, they get a third.
Correct.
Okay. Questions on that?
No. And so obviously, we differentiate between the sick leave and the personal leave. Is that correct? So we have
So we-
two, you'll have one additional personal leave, And then the sick leave.
There's
is
annual leave
Okay.
and sick leave. Annual leave was it's more like what you would consider paid time off, whereas if I understand it right, a personal days, that's not tied to your annual leave?
No, so you have, in terms of your time, you have vacation, then you have your holidays, then you have your sick leave, and then you have the personal days or floating holidays. So those are the paid.
And then there's also a provision for Christmas Eve, whereas anybody working, any full-time employee who works a 4-hour day on Christmas Eve will get paid for an 8-hour day, but it won't be overtime and not considered holiday pay. Is that?
And that's correct. And we felt that, when we looked at, again, the other communities within our array, there was quite a few of them that, either had, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off, or a form of this special leave provision of allowing for a, 4-hour window. When we looked at, the amount of activity that we had on Christmas Eve, which was another factor that we looked at, we didn't have, but I think, one person come in all of Christmas Eve.
It was me.
So we looked at that. We looked at what that, opportunity to provide folks with, reasonable, time to travel to, the holidays or, spend time with their family during those was important to, offer that to our employees.
Questions on that?
No.
Questions or comments on the negotiated agreement in totality?
So this was kind of where we left it in August. Do we expect to negotiate some more for next fiscal year, or is what you've talked over with the employee association that we're not going to entertain any raises for the next budget year?
Well, that's, where we're at right now is we're still, looking at where we are able to get to a balanced budget, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not looking at, some type of increased personnel costs or, what that looks like. So, Mark, in terms of answering your question, right now, this is for the previous fiscal year, and, I know I have spoke with the CCA, and, depends on where we go with the, next, fiscal year, but, it was our understanding that, we would, basically come back to, discussions and see where we're at after we look at the next round of. But when we had, spoke, and, it's our hope that this covers this year's fiscal year and next year's fiscal year, in terms of at least myself. And
So there's no expectation from the CCA that there'll be any wage increases for the folks covered under that association? Is that, it's a pretty important question.
Well, I would, in terms of wage increases for next fiscal year, I don't know where we're going to be at until we finalize our.
So that's an open question.
That is an open question.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. It's open. We have not stuck a nail in it and said, done, finito. That's open for negotiation over the next 4 or 5 months, whatever it is, till September 30th.
Well, our leadership team is actively working towards coming up with options to provide a fiscally balanced budget, which is one of those that we're going to continue to strive for in terms of what the overall look of that is going to be. I can't give you that answer until we get more.
But the options aren't closed.
No, the options are not closed.
The options are open.
I had a concern, and certainly I don't want to balance our budget on the backs of our employees, because I think they're very important, and we need to take care of our employees. So I appreciate the discussion. One thing that I had a concern about was, I remember sitting here in the summer and hearing about the comparability study, and that we have some employees who are dramatically underpaid as far as in comparison to other communities our size. So I was just wondering if you could address that for me, so I would feel comfortable knowing that we're trying to bring up those workers who are getting paid less.
You know, when we look at the comparability for the fiscal year 17-18, we had more than half of the positions that were below comparability in terms of, you know, the overall numbers. And, you know, with, you know, this year being, you know, held, we're going to continue to fall further behind. I can't give you a great answer that we're going to be able to dig ourselves out of a hole, you know, and bring everybody up to comparability in 1 year. I'm not going to, you know, paint rose-colored glasses on that. That's not going to happen.
Right. Well, I'm
But
not
I think
asking
there's
to bring everyone,
opportunities, but I think there's opportunities to, you know, provide increases where we can and do things that we can. But we also have a responsibility to provide a balanced budget. And I think that, you know, when we look at this coming fiscal year, you know, myself as well as all of our department heads and supervisors are actively looking at options to provide some of those increases if we can. You know, none of that's rolled out right now because we're still trying to, you know, work through, you know, some of those numbers. And
And that doesn't have to be a systematic change. You don't have to.
Right.
You can look at, for example, the library brought one of their children's librarian position into comparability just by shifting some of their funds around within the budget. It doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all approach.
Sure.
So we have a lot of, again, options are open for addressing
Right.
those.
Right.
For the
And
county budget.
I certainly, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the work everyone did, but I would like to keep that in the forefront of the discussion because I think that's something that the employees of the city deserve. So
Honestly, I don't think it'll ever not be. If anyone thinks that we went into this thinking, haha, we're not going to give raises, I mean, you're just wrong. I don't think it made any of us feel good to be in the position we're in.
Yeah.
I'm in a situation where I look, I'm the same way, and those raises are important to me at the college, and on years that they can't give them, or it's so much that insurance actually out raises that, I mean, I know how that feels, and it's sickening. And so, if there's budget, yeah, I'm all for moving forward and helping that out. But yeah, never think that any of us on either side of the table forgot that.
Which I would like to reinforce right now, which is why we came forward. Terry Birnbaum, myself, Janet Johnson, and Lori Storbeck were the three people from the CCEA as executive members of that association, negotiating with George and Keith and Greg. One of the things that we did, and we did it, you know, with our eyes wide open, knowing that we weren't going to get raises, that we had to look at something that would benefit the employees but wouldn't break the city. So everything we looked at from what other communities were doing for other ideas, obviously, but we also looked at the budget and tried to stay realistic, if nothing else. Yeah, we could have, as Greg said, asked for President's Day, which in the long run would cost the city a lot more money than personal days, and the employee taking it off at their discretion. So it was things like that that we went back and forth on, and knowing that we couldn't shoot for the moon because we weren't going to get it anyway, so trying to be realistic and help both the employees and the city out. So we're here, you know, united. We've got obviously other employees in the room also. The CCEA has met a number of times on this issue also. I would like to address Mark's question about, is the negotiations done? We don't know. We have not even discussed that as a collective unit. So we can't answer that, yes or no, not at this time. We do appreciate the process. It was lengthy, it was hard, it got contentious at times, but we do appreciate the process and the opportunity to negotiate. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything.
I just want to speak a little bit about what I look at on this deal. If you look around the room, there's a lot of tenure employees. There's a lot of employees been here for a long time, and I'm one of them. I remember back in 1982 when I first started, And if I wasn't getting a pay raise as a young person then, it meant going without on some stuff, and that, I'm sure that happens to these young families now. So now I'm one of the people that, I'm always there to try to help our employees, try to give our employees pride to stay here, and try to keep going forward and making the city, a good place. We're understaffed, we work hard, but yet, when we come up on something like this, sure, it brings morale down a little bit, but you can turn around, you can look at your guy and say, you know what, we still got a job to do, let's go get it done. We're gonna try to get some other things going for this and move on. And I can speak for my crew, and I can speak for a lot of the public works crews that I work with. That's what they do. They get together and they get united again, and we start working for a common goal. As far as the personal leave day, something that I always instill in my new employees is they get their personal leave right up front, okay? It doesn't go on a probationary thing or anything like that. They have them personal leave days. In their first year, they do not get any vacation pay. They start gathering their sick leave, but if they want to go see grandma, in Massachusetts or something, they could be losing pay on days that they don't have. So that personal leave, and then I also let my guys work as comp hours, get overtime, we keep the comp hours together so they can go and do some of that stuff on that first year. So to me, it's all about the young people, Can I absorb a pay raise that's not going to be there? I can. But, I'm not, I can't speak for the younger people because I remember those days. And I remember how rough it was, And, being a private E1 in the military and moving to California, and everything was awesome, a whole bunch of money it cost me to live. We ate a lot of beans, and we ate a lot of, biscuits to survive, so. But that's what I have to say about it, it's just, we're working hard and trying to keep work hard. But it's hard to look that employee in the eye and say, oh, you know what, you're not gonna get nothing, but yet I want you to keep working the same way you're working. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I just want to thank George and Keith and Greg for all the time that was spent on all of our meetings that we had. I guess one of the things that I really was hoping to get that Keith helped us get was the 4 hours at Christmas Eve. And I know that when we did not get the pay raises, though, that affects us in other ways, though, too. Of course, with your retirement and things like that, but it affects us in the long run, too, not getting those raises. So that's another thing that hits you hard as an employee also. But I do appreciate the council and working with what we had to work with and giving that to us. But
If you have any questions, you can.
And I'd also like to thank, the council members and Greg when we worked through this too. It was, it wasn't painless. We worked together and we come out with it. We both walked away from the table going, I think we did all right.
Thank you. So, personally, unless you have any more specific questions, I still would like to vote and give closure to these folks tonight.
You got a good crowd here, employees. I want to send them on their way happy.
On those lines, if there is anybody, I would open this up to employees who wanted to speak. If there's anybody here who does want to share any comments, you're welcome to come up and share your comments with the council. And thanks to all our city employees. We have a city government that's worth being proud of, and I'm proud to serve in my own capacity, and I'm proud that I was able to be a part of this. And we do great work as a city, and having two sides come together, negotiate in good faith, come out with an agreement that nobody loves but everybody feels is fair is an achievement in and of itself. And that's a lot of hard work that goes into that, and I deeply appreciate that.
Okay. Got a few more questions. Can we get a brief on our responsibilities for comparability process, as part of the budget process? I don't want to get bit later on if we're not following the letter of the law. and I know Bev can give us that. I was going to ask, and maybe I'll present it rather than a question as a request for future. This was a long process. And like I said, I think the teams work together and all that, but it's the night we're voting on it, and this is my first brief. That, to me, is wrong. I think we, as a council, when we work together and we share ideas, we come out with stronger outcomes. Probably no stronger outcome could come of this, but it's the day of, it's the hour of, and I got the memo. That's, to me, process foul of huge proportions. I did the math. I don't see Jeanette. I asked her to do the math on how much this would cost, and I came within $3,000 of her estimate, so math wasn't that far off. So, like I said, going in the future, just keep us appraised. Schedule a meeting so that, we're not faced with reading this while we got our wonderful employees out there trying to figure out what's going on. If we'd have been briefed periodically, we would not be in a situation where I felt very uncomfortable going into this tonight because this hadn't been presented.
I'm just going to say, flip side of that is you also were aware it was happening, and as I do, I'll go into Greg or reach out to him for information when I know something's up that I want information on. So I agree, we should have disseminated a little more, but there's
and I don't see I don't see it.
That too.
Yeah, and I don't see that as your responsibility to keep me informed. I think it's a process thing where we keep that council meetings are scheduled so that we can exchange ideas. And the formality of it means that things are done in a way you can understand it, and everybody comes away with the same facts rather than, partial hallway conversations. I don't like hallway conversations when it's something as important as this. And like I said, I think the false multiplier is that there's 5 of us. We come from different backgrounds and ideas. As they mentioned, your college experience really helped out. And I could relate all this to my federal service. Start off with. So anyway, to me, the formality is what's missing, and also the discussion, so that we all buy into it early, and it's not something that this is on the fly. I mean, the day of, the hour of.
Yeah, there's obviously a mistake with this portion. But.
Further discussion from the council?
I guess what I'd like to say is I appreciate your input. I really do appreciate you stepping forward and sharing some of the things that you shared, because I, like Mark, I have not been part of the process, so I feel like I have a greater understanding of it. I'm deeply appreciative of everyone who put in the time and energy, so I do not have any further questions.
Okay. So may we have a roll call on the motion to table this resolution?
Klein,
No.
Bannon,
No.
Crowfoot,
No.
Werner,
No.
Welch.
No.
All right. And the motion failing, may we have roll call on resolution 2019-37?
Klein,
Yes.
Bannon,
Yes.
Crowfoot,
Yes, ma'am.
Werner,
Yes. Thanks for the CCA folks that stood up. That made a big difference to me.
Welch.
Yes.
Motion 2019-37 is passed. Changes will be made to the personnel manual.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Camera can't show what a nice full read.
I know. You're going to miss the presentation of the TIF annual reports. It's thrilling.
Jeanette is here.
Yes.
I could see you. You had some big people in front of you.
Oh, my God. I just had a seizure. I hate that debate. I just hate it. Everybody holding on strong? We ready to continue? Yes, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Introducing resolution number 2019-38 and move for its adoption.
Second it.
We have some detailed memo on this from the city manager. You want to outline kind of what we've got going on here, Greg, and then we'll kind of discuss what action we're looking for tonight.
So give a little bit of background on this. So in May of 2018, the city and the Fraternal Order of Police, Northern Panhandle Lodge number 69, started collective bargaining on a new agreement. The current agreement period was from October 1, 2016 to September 30th of 2018. And since a new agreement has not been ratified, both parties to date are working under the existing contract. As part of the negotiation process, the city received a last best offer from the FOP dated February 13, 2019. And then the city presented its final best offer to the FOP on March 20, 2019. Subsequently, on April 2, 2019, the FOP filed in the Commission of Industrial Relations a wage and benefits case against the city for fiscal year 2018-2019. And as part of the formal proceedings for the wage and benefits case, the council must take action on the final best offer presented to the FOP as well as the offer received from the FOP. In terms of the order of resolutions, you'll see that the council resolution to approve the final best offer is presented first. And the second resolution is a resolution to reject the final best offer as presented by the FOP and then modified on April 2nd, 2019. The modification from the FOP's final best offer from February 13th to April 2nd was removal of the 2 years of escalated increases on the wage, standard wage amount.
And so Resolution 38, which is before us right now, a vote in favor approves the city's final best offer. That gives the official council endorsement of that, and a resolution to approve Resolution 39 next rejects the last offer provided from the Fraternal Order of Police.
Correct. So both resolutions would be in the affirmative.
Okay. Do we have questions or discussion from the council?
And I want to limit that to a certain extent since we are in the CIR currently. We are in litigation. So I would want to limit our open meetings conversations to a certain extent. This is a formality. These votes are formalities. We are already in the CIR.
So I have two process questions. When did we first get formally presented the issues on this? What council meeting?
I don't remember the exact date. We had that closed session, or the executive session.
We've had executive session. I couldn't tell you the date.
Yeah, it
Was that
was
the second meeting in March, perhaps?
roughly March. And we reached the impasse, according to this, sometime in February. So council input on the negotiation position came after the impasse was reached. Formal council input was attained.
At that point in time, I guess from my position, we were looking at a possibility of an impasse. You were being
But
You were being updated on the possibility that we were at an impasse at that point in time, okay?
The
The impasse was not a concrete impasse. We were letting you know what could
But
be
you see
coming
my
down the pipe.
point, we've been in negotiations
Well, Mark,
for...
it's a little difficult, as well as you know, when you're negotiating as a council. It's awful hard to go in and negotiate a collective bargaining agreement as a council.
And I'm not
We have
asking,
public
and I'm not,
issues.
I'm not taking, I know that we can't do the negotiations.
Sure.
What I'm saying is, it'd be nice to know what we're arguing about ahead of time. In a formal presentation, behind closed doors, so that we can be behind and fully understand what it is we're talking about. That's my thing. To be going, I think, whether the dates are 6-9 months of negotiations, and then at the tail end of it, be brought in and say, pick a side. That, to me, is a process foul. And I'd like us to think about that as we schedule these things in the future.
Okay. Anything else?
I had a question that I like, and in many ways, I agree with you, Mark. I think it would benefit myself in many aspects to have the ability to have an update, whichever is the best way to do it, whether it's a closed session or it's part of your manager's report at the agenda, just kind of to keep us updated. I was wondering, I saw that the, let's see, the last best offer from the FOP was stated February 13th, and then there were five weeks that passed before we, was it 5 weeks before we counteroffered? Is that, am I understanding that correctly, or were there steps that are just not noted here?
We have to remember that in March, we were scheduled to meet 2 weeks prior. We had the blizzard.
Okay.
So we weren't able to actually meet earlier than that.
Sure.
So that's why ours was April 20th. If not, we were actually scheduled to meet earlier in that month.
Okay, so it was weather-related then?
Well, some of that is, you've got
a
a individual coming out for the FOP. Scheduling can be interesting.
Sure,
So,
yes.
So don't read too much into the time lags.
Okay, because I didn't know if that was
Because
a normal time.
it's a lot of people sitting down with their phones and figuring out when they can be here.
Right.
So
Sure.
there is
Okay.
that element of that.
Yes, thank you. I just needed to understand that a little better. Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, may we have roll call on Resolution 2019-38?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crumpet.
Yes, ma'am.
Werner.
No.
Welch.
Yes.
Resolution 2019-38 passes.
Introducing resolution number 2019-39 and move for its adoption.
Second.
Again, same discussion. Any further points of discussion before we have a roll call vote?
May I just ask how our salaries compare to other communities? For police force?
There's a yes/no question on the floor. Can
It's
she
not as
ask?
easy as a yes, no. I
Can
guess
she-
what I would ask Councilwoman Welch to do
Yes.
is stop in with the city manager and look at where we're at with regards to our array and with what's been pled. They're public documents, but he can discuss those with you, and here's where we're at on this area, here's where we're at in this area. I think that would be more informative to you.
It's pretty complex.
So yes, she can ask, but it's not super productive.
Well, I think it'd be more productive for her to sit down and
Yeah.
understand the arrays in a one-on-one.
If you can see it versus having it explained, it'll be.
Okay.
Yeah.
The tables would be more, yeah.
All right.
Anything else? May we have roll call on Resolution 2019-39?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crumpet.
Yes, ma'am.
Werner.
I guess, should have asked earlier. So yes would be reject.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Well,
Yes.
All right. Resolution 2019-39 passes. Moving forward, we have our presentation of the Tax Increment Financing Annual Report. This is pursuant to new TIF legislation that was passed by our good friends in the Nebraska State Legislature, who we are very proud of. Would like to just present this report saying that we have one TIF project.
As part of the new LB requirements with changes in the TIF law, the Community Redevelopment Authority or Community Development Authority is required to present to the governing body as well as all taxing entities that are affected the total number of TIF projects, the estimated project cost for the redevelopment, as well as the comparisons between the initial value and the valuations currently, the number of redevelopment projects in the current fiscal year, as well as the number that the governing body has approved during that calendar year, as well as the percentage of the municipality that has been designated as blight. So this is a breakdown of that information. The City of Chadron currently has one TIF project. The total estimated project cost for all redevelopment is $7,285,000. The valuation comparison between 16 was $37,595, and then the current valuation for 19 is $6,097,200, which is subject to change if they decide to file with the county on a dispute for the valuation of that.
That's the valuation of the land and the building?
And all improvements.
Okay,
yes. And then the percentage of the municipality that has been designated as blight is still 35%.
Which is max, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And this report is then served out, or not served, I guess it's a powerful word, served, but is then presented by mail, right, to
Correct.
all property taxing entities who overlap with this project, right?
Correct. There's no action that needs to be taken on this. This is just strictly for
What
information.
does Turk adjusted mean?
Tax Equalization Review Commission means that they protested their valuation, and the Tax Equalization Review Commission adjusted the county assessor's valuation.
So is that
It's a
something they would
protest.
do every year, or is that just sitting out
It's-
there until?
It's something you can do. If you don't like the value of your house, you can file a TERC protest.
I just post on Facebook complaining.
So does everybody else.
And I believe that there is another one in the works on this property.
Okay.
With that Turk adjustment in 2017, wasn't that just because it was not fully completed?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thrilling. Moving forward tonight.
Not as fun as I thought it'd be. Introducing resolution number 2019-40 and move for its adoption.
Second that.
Thank you, George. Resolution 2019-40 is a resolution to allow the intersection of Highway 20 and Main Street to be used during a parade for the Cal Ripken 12-year-old regional baseball tournament. We'll be having a parade on Wednesday, July 17th. I think it's great that we've got another tournament in town this year. Very happy that we're able to present our community to these families from all across the United States, and I know in the past these tournaments have included teams from Canada as well. A great opportunity for our community to host these. Questions, comments? May we have roll call on resolution 2019-40?
Klein,
Yes.
Bannon,
Yes.
Crowfoot,
Yes, ma'am.
Werner,
Aye.
Welch,
Yes.
Introducing resolution number 2019-41 and move for its adoption.
Second.
This resolution is to declare a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria police car surplus. It was a total loss by insurance.
That's
We
probably
would
better than
receive-
trade-in value.
about $4,000 for this vehicle. Chief?
Correct. It's the white Crown Victoria. It's one of our oldest cars. It was one of our officers was driving down the road late at night and on traveling to their training, and he had a tire in the middle of the road, so it essentially just tore out the whole front end. Nobody got hurt, but the damage to the vehicle, and then of course EMC pays for the removal and reinstall of the equipment that's in there. So that's probably close to $4,000 worth of costs to do that uninstall and install, and includes the graphics on the car. So that's, I think the total is like about $9,700, a little over that.
Very good.
How much of that equipment is useful for anything else? Well, I'm just thinking a lot of the equipment is designed for that specific model, right? So since we don't have a lot of Crown Vics.
So the things that wouldn't fit would be the console, the metal console, and then the cage that's in the back of it would not fit. Just about everything else would switch over, as long as it's not out of service, like the in-car camera, our radios, the radar, the MDT.
All the electronics basically would still go.
Would still go, yeah. But it is one of our oldest cars. I mean, we've had that Crown Victoria for quite a long time.
So what happens to it now? Is insurance towing it off? Or?
Yeah, once we get everything out of it, the insurance will come and take it and probably sell it as salvage.
Further questions? May we have roll call on resolution 2019-41?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crumpet.
Yes, ma'am.
Warner. Welch.
Yes.
Introducing resolution number 2019-42 and move for its adoption.
Second.
All right, resolution 2019-42 is some housekeeping. We need to schedule a public hearing to consider the levy for the Business Improvement District. This is not, as it says, special assessment, but this is the normal annual assessment that all downtown business owners pay per front foot of their business into the Business Improvement District so that they can fund activities like working on the trees, like planters, so those funds are available for the maintenance and beautification of downtown Chadron. And again,
That
this is,
amount has been unchanged, I believe, for a number of years.
and I don't believe it's changed since Mark and I have been on the council.
I would agree with that.
Any questions or comments? May we have a roll call on resolution 2019-42?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crumpet.
Yes, ma'am.
Warner.
Aye.
Welch.
Yes.
And move to pay the bills. Need a second.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the claims tonight?
I noticed something on page 2, and it was for Simmons. It was cold mix for street department. I was just wondering what that is. Is that the way?
Asphalt. That is asphalt.
Oh.
It's the pothole mix.
There's, cold mix and hot mix. The difference being, if I'm not mistaken, it's,
Yeah,
right.
there
It's
you
the
go.
type of pizza Domino's uses to lay across the hole.
Yeah, right. No, just a different season. There's a different mix of
Okay.
ingredients, chemicals that are in there that you need for a certain temperature when you're setting that. You're filling potholes.
Good thing.
I'm sorry.
It's all right, you can touch me.
It was an ounce. Didn't mark you.
Any other questions? May we have a roll call on the claims, please?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crumpet.
Yes, ma'am.
Warner.
Aye.
Welch.
Yes.
Moving on to our city manager report. We just got our most recent monthly report from the city manager. Also want to request specific updates on FBO contract negotiations and FBO fuel flow charge recovery.
Currently with the fixed base operator contract negotiations, we have not had an opportunity to reach out to prospective individuals in terms of what their interests might be. I know one of the issues that we were having in terms of making it attractive to set up shop is the fuel flow numbers were pretty low due to the issues with the previous fixed-based operator and with Boutique now and some of the changes. We're hoping to get those numbers back up to make it a little more attractive for somebody to want to come up and take on those operations. The update for the fuel recovery charges is we have still been trying to determine who, how, and when we file the claims against the previous fixed-base operator, and I know we were looking at their current status as a corporation since they were actually filed in Colorado, and we have been working through some of those issues, so.
And some possible asset allocations, whether they're judgment-proof or not. Is there a reason to sue them at this point? Are they judgment-proof or not? So I think we're current on a registered agent now. I believe we're good there. Asset, whether we want to spend good money to chase bad, that we're still working on.
So, just for my own edification, would this be if we file suit, since they're in another state?
I believe we can make a good jurisdictional argument to get it here, because they came here to do the business. The contract was here, so. But we had to decide who we would serve. And it's not who you would think it is, and it wasn't in Colorado. It's been back and forth. There's quite a history of that. It was in Las Vegas for a while. Currently, they're in good standing in Colorado.
They were domesticated in Nebraska with a resident agent here or not?
I don't know that. Don't have it in the Colorado. I'll check on that too, George, but I don't think they did.
Really?
I don't think they did. But we do have an agent.
What does that mean?
That means if it's a foreign corporation, by statute, you are supposed to have a registered agent locally. Now, 90% of the companies that come to Nebraska may or may not do that.
When you mean foreign, you mean out of state?
Out of state, exactly. Yes. Sorry. It's called a foreign corporation, but yes, clarification, yes, an out-of-state corporation, not an out-of-country corporation. Although it could be that as well.
Have we talked to the Internet Research Agency about RFP?
So right now, like I said, I feel good about a registered agent, should we go down that road? But the question's still going to be, if you get a judgment, what do you get?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. We're doing some checking in the area where they're at to see if there's anything out there that's maybe exposed. Other than that, I don't want to go into too much more. But
Okay.
is that okay? You good? Okay.
Any further reports, Greg?
Just as a reminder to folks at the Aquatic Center is closed for the annual maintenance from the 6th through the 19th.
I don't understand. Sorry.
That says eval. So, evaluations.
Okay. Am I supposed to say words right now about that, or what are we?
At some point, yes. We have to be tasked, and you're the only one that can do it.
Okay, so Mark wants to be tasked with doing evals. And what action do I need to take? Is it public meeting action to say, let's set our semi-annual evals for our city manager and city clerk?
Go forward with them, yeah.
Okay, let it be so. So say we'll.
What date are we talking about? Just set the date to go forward, or do you have a date?
We most recently did our evaluations in August. We had a discussion about semi-annual evaluations, so we are in arrears. I would say.
So basically, your task is to set a date when you want to go forward with it.
To set a date with go forward with evals, meaning what? To have
due date.
To have the council submit their.
Set an agenda item and you do your evals with your.
Okay. So let's set that date tentatively for our first June meeting. Is pretty packed, isn't it?
Well, and remember, you've been, for the past 2-3 mayors, it's just been 2 council members that have been doing the debrief. It hasn't been a council item, so actually, I mean, if we're using the past
system,
past 4 years of precedence, we give them to either the mayor, vice mayor, or Bev. You compile them, and then you decide who you want to debrief with. In the past, it's been the mayor and the vice mayor.
Set your dates to get those accomplished.
Okay.
So just tell us when you want them, and then you and Keith decide when you're going to brief Donna and Greg.
Okay, let's have those done in 2 weeks' time. A fortnight.
So the 21st.
Why don't you just go to June 1st for that?
Okay.
What? I can't read a calendar.
That's a Saturday.
Well, you know what I mean.
How about by our June 3rd meeting?
So 31st of May.
To have it like completely done? Or
To
just
have-
have
the information, I'm saying, is to have the packets submitted so that we can compile them and then present after.
Okay.
Fair?
Do we want to try to, I mean, do we want? Damn, it doesn't matter. I was just thinking like if we wanted to have it done by a certain date, then have the evaluations in by the.
Are you saying
even
June
like
1st?
the 27th?
Well, if
What
you're
are you
gonna,
suggesting?
And then we can present it the
27th.
if you're
3rd.
gonna have your packets done by the end of the month, it's gonna take a little while with everything else that we do.
We're going to be busy.
So you're not gonna, till at least your second meeting in June, decide on, and again, if you're just gonna do it with another council member, you can appoint another council member to go through it with your clerk and your manager. It's not gonna be an item for the agenda.
Right. I think I'm fine following precedent on that.
Okay.
So let's just say evaluation packets in by the end of the month. And I'd like to have
And at that point, you'd get them to,
staff prepared.
yep.
And have them turned into, confidential packets turned into Bev. Keith and I will compile the information. Fair? Council closing comments. We begin with George.
Well, like I did before, I want to thank the employees for working with us. I probably, just in one of the meetings, said, we got to quit meeting like this. But anyhow, thanks for working with us. And then another big item, June 20th, we'll be having another honor flight taking off from Chadron to go to Washington, D.C. Another 11 veterans or guardians and a couple of sponsors. So looking forward to that. Chief always helps us a lot.
I would like to just say again, reiterate what we said earlier. Thanks to our employees. They do great work. We have a city government worth being proud of. Times are not easy. I'm not having a lot of fun being the mayor sometimes, but it's worth it, and I'm happy for the opportunity to serve, and I'm happy that we have such a great city staff that we can work with, and pleased that we're able to work with them productively. Good.
Yeah, as part of the committee for negotiations, honestly, everyone involved and all the employees, the fact that we could come to this in such a trying year is fantastic, and I sincerely hope that we can do better for everyone in the coming year. Hopefully, we can get a bunch of tourists in here to raise those tax receipts up.
At the Bean Broker.
Apparently at the Bean Broker, sure.
Amazon tax.
I actually want to again thank the chief and the police department for their response for please to help patrol around the primary school in the mornings. That has been fantastic, and even yesterday there was yet another person reached out and said thank you to the people involved. That has really cleaned up. This morning I was dropping my son off, didn't see a single thing, so it was awesome. Thank you.
Mark?
We should say congrats to all the Chadron State grads last Saturday. Look forward to the high school graduation coming up shortly. Thanks to everybody involved in the employee association. George, Keith, I didn't want to do it. I appreciate you stepping up. The employee leadership couldn't have been easy. I really appreciate that. And I guess that's all I got.
Cheryl?
All right. Well, I too wanted to congratulate the graduates from CSC, CHS this weekend, and area high schools. It's an exciting, but it can also be a very stressful time. which I want to segue then to talk about the Mental Health Awareness Month. I think it's really great that we've had Terry Haynes and her colleagues come. And we each need to keep our eye out for one another. We need to take care of each other, take care of ourselves, and really pay attention to what's going on with the people around you. So that's what I have.
I'll second. Be excellent to one another.
Be excellent.
Move to adjourn.
Second. May we have a roll call on the motion to adjourn, please?
Klein.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Crowfoot.
Yes, ma'am.
Werner.
Right.
Wells.
Yes.